case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going.
Hey everyone, it's the Politics Chick here. I hope you are having a great week so far. So today I thought we could talk a little bit about Trump and all this Epstein file hysteria that's going on. I mean, clearly it's the media's latest obsession, and there's just been so many headlines screaming that Trump is hiding something because he's not jumping on the bandwagon demanding the full release of the Epstein related documents. But here's what I think is really going on and why Trump's response is justified, but it's kind of strategic in a way. So the left and certainly parts of the conservative media are trying to stir up drama. Let's face it, they thrive on drama and, they're getting paid while we're getting sucked into all of this. But they're getting annoyed because Trump isn't really treating the Epstein story like a political weapon. And let's be honest, if he did push for the release of these files, there'd be some people who would accuse him of tampering or distracting from the more kind of urgent issues. And this is what I would call a class example of the media sort of setting a trap. It's no matter what Trump says or does, they're going to twist it, and Trump knows it. Now, as you know, there was a recent event and Trump called the whole Epstein drama just a hoax, a distraction. And really, he's not wrong. I mean, he's been saying for years that the deep state and media elites use scandals like this just to keep people kind of chasing shadows while the real corruption goes unchecked. So kind of like a sleight of hand, or look over here, don't look over there. And this Epstein case has already dragged on for years. And I'll be honest, definitely would want justice. I think there was just some terrible things that went on there. But why has this resurfaced now and it's become so urgent? Why are these documents suddenly being pushed so hard? Just as Trump is setting up all of his policy agenda, pushing tariffs, he's leading the global conversation on energy, AI, and national security. And now we're being dominated by the Epstein files. Not saying they're not important, but it's I just feel that when they're distracting us this heavily, really pushing on one thing, they don't want us to be focusing on something else that's probably better in our interests, right? As just regular people, than all of these people goofing around in Washington, making big bucks for pretty much doing absolutely nothing. And I'm saying that on both sides. There's some Republicans that really need to get their butts in gear and get things sorted out and stop just rejecting and just roadblocking and grandstanding. Can't stand it. Don't think that they should have their salary if they're doing stuff like that. But anyway, I digress. But there are a lot of folks, right, in the MAGA movement that are frustrated. And even Speaker Mike Johnson wants the files released. But we all know Trump doesn't follow the crowd, and he doesn't even follow his own base at times when he thinks something smells off. And really, if you think about it, that's what leadership looks like. We don't want somebody that's just going to cave in under pressure, knowing that that's not the right thing to do. We want him to be looking at the bigger picture. I think he's acutely aware that the left would love to just hijack this, turn it into another witch hunt, and then we're in a Russia thing, the laptop thing, Ukraine, we've got 2 failed impeachments behind him. It's just crazy. And look, let's not ignore some hypocrisy here, right? Bill Clinton flew with Epstein more than 24 times, and the media's not touching that at all. So why the pressure? Right, again, something smells a little fishy. And I think that tells us everything we really need to know about the motives behind all this latest media frenzy. I feel like they're so culpable in a lot of different things here. We all know Trump did know Epstein back in the day, but so did every other New York billionaire and politician. But Trump did cut ties with Epstein decades ago, banned him from Mar-a-Lago and never looked back. And I wouldn't call that guilt. That's just integrity. You don't see any of that. We don't see any of that decisive action coming from people from many in the DC area. So I think when he's calling this deep state bait, he's being smart, and he's just pretty much saying, let's not get dragged down into a crazy sideshow. We have real fights to win. And this is what it should always come back to. This is the foundational stuff. The economy, the border, trade, energy, foreign policy. Bingo, that's it. 5 key things, because those are 5 things that affect every single citizen in this United States. Now, I'm not saying the truth shouldn't come out, because if there's anything to do with, children and sexual exploitation in any way, 100% that needs to get fleshed out. So if there are files with real evidence here against anyone, I think we as the people deserve to know the truth, right? But Trump's never been, afraid of the truth. He's not going to let the media weaponize it against him or use it to divide his movement. This is not his first rodeo. And that is really what makes Trump different, right? He's just not playing into the media's hands here. He's not going to virtue signal, thank God. We have enough of that. Or bend to any pressure just to look good for 5 minutes. What's the saying? He's playing chess, not checkers, folks. So before we kind of rush to judgment or take any bait, let's ask ourselves, who benefits from the Epstein distraction? I'd love to know who you think that is. Please comment in the comment section if you would. And if you like the channel, please like, share, and subscribe so we can get more political conversations going. And you can look forward to more from the Politics Chick later in the week. Thanks and have a great day.